Well, won't you look at that? And I'm not just going to be looking at it, I'm going to be riding it. We are at Cotswold BMW Motorrad. We're here to go for a spin on the M1000R with the competition pack. We have lots of carbon goodies, lots of bodywork bits. We have carbon wheels. We have billet accessories such as the foot pegs and flip up levers. And of course this bike comes equipped with wangs. Got a pair of wangs, this bike. I know we're talking £24,500, I know. Now, the fact that I'm riding this bike is the good news. But believe it or not, there is bad news. Bad news is it hasn't been fully run in yet, hasn't had its first service, and as such, some of the race modes are not available, not that I can really sample them on the road anyway, and also it is limited to 9,000 RPM. So switch off now if you're expecting 9, 10, 11,000 RPM on the road. It's not going to happen on this ride. But I'll take my chances when they come to me, and I've got a chance to ride this absolute monster. So let's get on with it. Now, I reached the bars, me being 5'7", 170 centimeters, with a 32-inch inside leg. Ergonomics, quickly. A fair reach to the bars. I've got a little bit of a lean forward for my back, for my hips. Nothing like clip-ons. The bars are low and wide. They're pretty much flat, aren't they? You can see that. But I've got both feet flat on the ground. Slightly surprised by that. Like a lot of BMWs with this TFT, it's got a adjustable red line as the bike warms up. But as I mentioned with this bike, the red line's going to start at 9,000 RPM, and that is a hard limiter until this bike's received its first service. I'm also pleased to see not a bad steering lock or steering angle. Better than my S1000 single R that I owned for about a year or so. It was a Gen 2 model, the one with the funny headlight. That had a rubbish steering lock. It was quite disappointing, but I know with the S1000 single R of about 2021 they gave it some more steering lock, which is great news. I've ridden that as well. So I've got some content on my old S1000R on the channel, as well as the test ride of the 2021 S1000R. So have a look at that stuff if you're interested. First few meters under the belt of this bike. And well, you've probably seen the other videos of people who've ridden this bike way before me. Let's be honest. It's so far very well mannered. Now I'm not sure what the wind noise is going to be like. I'm pretty sure at higher speeds there'll be no point me talking, so you'll probably just hear me chatting at slower speeds once I've scared myself. So I'm here at well, just under 70. I can feel a slight bit of kind of rolling turbulence kind of hitting me, not much. And to be fair, it might even be my camera doing that. It's possible. It's a big lump sticking out in the air there. But let's get something out of the way pretty early on. Handlebars are quite buzzy, reasonably buzzy. About 5,000 RPM in top gear. I can feel a fair vibration through the bars and the brake lever, not so much through the clutch lever. So these vibrations will change as you go up and down the revs. Slow down a bit. At 4,000 RPM, well 4.2 I think, bike feels calmer. So it's probably just as well that I can't take the mickey with the revs on the road, because I would if I could. The gearbox
The lever feel is slightly soft. There is a snick, but it's kind of damped. But the throw is short, so that's nice. Tyres are still quite new, so let's get them warm, shall we? Wow, even in second gear at low revs, it was happy to give the front a little bit of a lift there on acceleration. That's quite fun. The seat is surprisingly, for the first few miles anyway, feels surprisingly plush, quite comfortable. Better than I expected. The initial kind of squish when you sit down on it, that is quite a bit better than the Yamaha XSR 900 that I just rode a little earlier today. This bike is pulling strongly. It's geared down slightly from the S1000R. It's got one tooth larger on the rear sprocket, and compared to the S1000R, from which the engine essentially has come from, I think 4th, 5th and 6th gear have got lower internal ratios for a bit more insanity. So yeah, the riding position is committed. You are leant forward a fair bit with these low flat bars. My feet are swept back a fair bit though. My ankle's got a good, like, I don't know, 20 to 30 degree bend from the knee. And that's something I didn't actually like about my S1000 Single R, my 2019 model. The foot pegs were just, the riding position was just too cramped. But with this bike, it feels slightly more spacious, I think, from memory. And anyway, this bike's got the all singing, all dancing M billet adjustable footrests. I could adjust it down, and also I can adjust the foot peg, the brake lever, sorry, on the back, and the gear position lever. So this bike comes with all the adjusters. Also, it's interesting to note that although it's got electronic suspension, DDC, dynamic damping control, on this bike you do have manually adjustable preload at the front and at the back, so it's not purely electronic. No, look at the bloody GoPro. Unfortunately, that GoPro's messing about, so it may be that I'd end up not having any footage from you and it's just from you. So where was I? Oh, you can clearly see the size of the wangs down there at the front. And I think BMW rightly say in their marketing, really, this is a bike designed for the track that also works for you on the road. I think that's an important distinction to make, really. It's kind of not a road bike with its wangs and its 200 horsepower engine, but it'll do it. And the amazing thing is, so far it feels really well behaved, aside from the vibrations in the bars. That is, that I think might become a bit of an issue. Seat feels good. Nice pillion seat. Well, looks comfortable. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to sit on it for any length of time. Shall we accelerate? So obviously I can't get into the meat of the power with its 9,000 RPM rev limit. But between 6 and 9 there is certainly a lot of go. Interestingly, it's just shunting a little bit on the constant throttle at 5,000 RPM, just a little bit unsure of itself there. It's just as you've been holding the constant throttle and you roll it back a little bit, it's like it's just surging slightly there on a just about constant throttle. Here's one awesome thing, what a bike this is, you know, performance for the track. But oh wow, look at that. But hill hold, absolutely love hill hold. I got that on my R1250R, and a slight incline like this, it just means you can just relax a little bit. Yes, I should cover both brakes, and I have got my right foot on the foot peg, but hill hold is an amazing thing. I love it, especially when it doesn't do anything stupid like let itself go and turn itself off after a minute or 30 seconds like some hill hold systems do. Now when you're ready to go, you just give the lever a squeeze and it turns itself off. What could be simpler? I'm sure these cars want to get past this truck first, so I shall allow it. Mirrors at these speeds, pretty rubbish. Even putting your thumb on them to hold them doesn't really make much of a difference. That's quite buzzy. But I will say the vibrations have gone away on the bars at this higher speed. The mirrors are right off, but the bars aren't too bad themselves. Okay, I've tried to power that GoPro, but it's not even turning on, so that was a waste. And as I'm sitting here in 25 degrees Celsius temperatures, I feel a fair bit of heat coming off the engine, so I better get going. So this bike wasn't really built for, you know, potholes and huge swathes of missing top surfaces of tarmac, but it's handling it pretty well. It doesn't feel totally rigid. Shall we pass a vehicle together? And relax. It is so potent, this engine. Quick shift is awesome. Sticks into gear. It's not much of a cut to ignition when you do it. Feels a little bit fidgety on its firm suspension, but not twitchy at the front. It's basically solid around the steering there at higher speeds. Shame that camera's dead. I want to show you that there's a fair bit of room on the seat to move backwards and forwards, and as the seat goes back it slopes as well, so you can kind of help brace yourself against the acceleration of this mental thing. And you've got a hard bump stop for your bum as well. Does that mean I can get really down and after it? Wow, yes, it does. Get your chest right on the tank. Okay, so just stopped for fuel, and I've done some changes to my gear. Changed camera. I had a spare GoPro in the backpack. This kind of bike, I wouldn't recommend it for new riders, but it's so fast. You've got to have learnt through experience, I would say, how to look ahead, how to read the road, how to get an impression of what's coming at you at speed. Those things come at you at speed on this bike like nothing else, even at up to 9,000 RPM. So yeah, I just want to show you what we've got available on this bike for settings since it hasn't been running yet. Probably vehicle settings. Driving mode pre-selection. So you see I've got currently available to choose from at the top of the screen. I've got rain, road, dynamic and race, but the race pro options are not available. Configurations not available. So I'm pretty confident I know what race, road and dynamic do, but I'm not sure what race does, whether that switches off like ABS or traction control as a preset option. Let's see what happens when I choose race at the top. I'm going to change mode. Ah, right, ABS settings. So ABS has changed. I imagine, at a guess, I've lost rear ABS. Maybe even lost lean sensitive ABS. That's a possibility. So, yeah, not something I want to play with right now. But I will try dynamic. I haven't done that yet. All the craziness I've just sampled was on road mode. Oh, come on. Now on this bike, like the S1000RR, but unlike my S1000R Gen 2, I don't think the Gen 3 had this either. DTC up and down, so you could play with on the fly, but not in this riding mode, and probably not in dynamic, or maybe even in race. No, so adjustable traction is only really possible in the race pro modes, it would appear. I can't blame it for that, really. Okay, this road, we're not going very quick, but it's rather bouncy. Oh, I'm in race mode, no wonder. I think race mode is, well, the rider modes are working in conjunction with the suspension. Yeah, feels calmer now on the road. This bike, even in the mid-range, there is a lot of torque, but it's inline 4 torque, you know, it's not Super Duke torque, and it's not a prettier torque. Now they're cheating a little bit because they've got an 1100 for their 4-cylinder bike, but you get into the mid-range, which is all I've got to play with, admittedly, and it pulls like a train. It's really strong. Shall we have a little razz? Oh yeah, this bike's got an adjustable steering damper as well. Haven't really felt the need to play with it, but I've got to say, for this state of this road, doesn't look too bad, but it's very bumpy. I think I'd be better off with the riding mode in road rather than dynamic. It's getting bumpy to the point of being a bit distracting. Our road is much better in terms of handling the bumpiness. Oh, this feels so capable. This chassis is just laughing at my attempts at enjoying myself. But the road damping is doing an excellent job. And the front brake is strong. Yeah, this bike is deadly. In a good way. So one thing I am finding is, well, it's just a matter of getting used to it maybe, is that my boots I'm using, they aren't race boots, they're kind of touring boots. I suppose they got thick soles. And a couple of times I've changed down gear, or I thought I changed down gear, but I wasn't sure. And I was concentrating on the road, I didn't want to look at the clocks. And the bike's quite quiet as well, so I couldn't quite tell whether I'd actually changed gear or not. But probably just a matter of knowing the resistance, getting to understand the resistance of the lever. I think you figure it out. But yeah, around those bends, the bike's not getting upset, not really feeling twitchy, just feels supremely capable. Well, yes, that was an awful lot of fun. Much of it I can't show you. You'll have to take my word for it. But yeah, that road, well, just on, it's a B road. It's bumpy, it's tight, nadgery. Not really where this bike is designed to sing, but it handled it very well. It just let me get on with it without shaking me around too much. And yeah, dynamic firmed the suspension up too much. And I'm sure there's a way of getting the road level damping in conjunction with the dynamic throttle, should you want it. Let's have a look here actually. Let's have a little look at the clocks. Oh, there we go, assist probably. Oh, damping, there you go. So I would say if I come out of that, then go into dynamic throttle mode, and then go back into the settings and go to assist and set that to road. There you go, job done. So shame there isn't a faster way of accessing the suspension settings, but it's let me dial the bike in how I want, at least how I want to test it right now, with the more responsive throttle but more compliant suspension. Okay, back through Burford. We'll find some other roads to play on. That's what we like. I'm at second gear, about 2,500 RPM. Do I detect that surging? No, I don't think so. That feels good. Feels happy. 3,500 RPM. That's where it feels just a little difficult to hold a constant throttle and have the bike behave 100%. But it's not bad. It's not jerking. We're not talking a jerky throttle, even in dynamic. So from that point of view, and the fact it's a 200 horsepower track focus bike, it's doing very well indeed. Wow, that feels so rapid. Okay, put the bike into a little bit of a hard acceleration wobble there, and that's the kind of wobble that I don't think a steering damper will really do much about. I won't even call it a wobble, I'll just call it a weave. This bike is not soulless. It's got soul, it's got spunk, it's got big balls. I can kind of understand the criticisms maybe levelled at this bike being it's a bit clinical, but it's not soulless. It's life affirming. It's so good at what it does, you end up being in awe of how you're getting down the road. And I'll switch on cruise control, 27 miles an hour. Spot on. This bike pretty much has it all. It's a great all-rounder. Am I really saying that about a £24,000, 200 horsepower naked sports bike? Yeah, pretty much. And despite a more committed riding position than many naked bikes, it's not a sports bike, it's not a CBR, it's not an RR. I think the riding position is actually pretty comfortable. So I'm going to chill out for a little while. Cruise control on the speed limit. I actually see a car catching me up from behind. Bike can do calm and measured as well. When it was doing the cruise control thing, there was no hint of surging. It was holding a constant throttle quite happily. It's just about to filter, but then I remembered the bar mounted mirrors and I thought, I don't want to take the chance. If I own this bike, I'd actually have a bit of a problem, because these mirrors make the bike too wide for me to fit around the back of my house. But also, there's nowhere to mount conventional mirrors. So you'd have to go on full-on aftermarket mirrors and bolt them to the bars. You can see the limitation I'm working with there on the clocks where the red line starts. But the rev counter's got a bit of a kind of a quick start up. It kind of starts at 4, then goes to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the first like 6,000 to 8,000 revs in the rev counter kind of squashed down a little bit. I'd say I've been on this bike for 2 hours now. You know, I mentioned that seat earlier. It felt quite comfortable. Not so much now. Can't feel the kind of the squish, the comfort in it anymore. On a track day, which is what this bike's really meant for, your bum's not on the seat half the time, is it? It's hanging off it. So not a big issue, I would say. But good news is my fingers, they've not gone numb, or my thumbs. So maybe because it's the varying revs I've been using, no constant throttle stuff, yeah, hands are still in good nick despite the vibrations I've been feeling at various revs. My knees are still alive, they're not screaming at me, this is good. So riding position is not too cramped. Let me tell you a bit about the controls. We have the flip up levers, which are part of the M competition package. Typical switches for BMW otherwise. Clutch is reasonably light. Not super light, but not heavy. I think you could do stop start traffic without any big issues. The brakes, front brake, pretty phenomenal. I've only had to lean on it a couple of times. It's frighteningly powerful. Not too grabby though. These brakes are powerful, very powerful, but they haven't got that kind of a initial kind of race bike type bite, which is okay by me. I'm not a fan of that particularly. I am a road bike rider after all.
Don't touch the bike. Oh my god. Oh Jesus. Oh shit, it's not backing off. I am really scared. Hello, here with the M1000R competition pack. Can I show you the carbon wheels? I think I can try. What a thing of beauty. Yeah, stunning. With the M brake calipers, Nissan's I believe, together with Nissan radial master cylinder as well. Brembo discs, 4.5mm discs by all accounts. What are we running on the tyres actually? Bridgestone, RS11s. I'm not qualified really to comment on the quality of the tyres. I'm not a good enough rider. So weighing in 199 kilograms wet, which is a pretty impressive feat with all the kit it's got bolted onto it. Adjustable gear lever, switchable as well for the race shift. Up and down quick shifter, obviously. M endurance chain. And coming to the forks, 45mm units with DDC, but like I say, adjustable preload manually, which is nice. Suspension travel, 120mm at the front, 117 at the rear. Wheelbase, 1455mm. That's actually 50mm shorter than the XSR 900 I rode earlier today. So that XSR had quite a wheelbase on it with its longer swing arm. Anyway, 255 ZR17 at the back with a 120/70 at the front. So a big time rear tyre. Let's see if it looks actually as huge as it sounds. Fortunately, it's a bit hard to tell with all the rubbish on the back and the centre of the tyre, but yeah, that's a big unit. Yeah, titanium Akropovich silencer there. You can get a full titanium system if you've got the folding. And if you bought one of these, you probably have. With those discs, it was 320mm at the front, 220 at the back with a single piston caliper. Described as a floating caliper. I'm not quite clever enough to know what that means, but the disc isn't floating for sure, but the caliper apparently is. Dimensions, seat height 830mm, fuel tank volume 16.5 litres with a reserve of 4 litres. Permitted total weight, if you like your pies, 210 kilograms sat on top of this bike. The chassis is pretty much the same as the S1000 single R, you know, the current edition, with changes to the suspension to deal with the extra power and the downforce now with this updated model. And with the suspension, once you've got access to the Race Pro options, once the bike's been running and serviced, then you can take finer control of the compression and damping settings via the dash, which we can't access now because they're just tied to the basic riding modes. Oh, we can see the adjustable steering damper there as well. So there we have it. My initial attempt at a walk around was interrupted by cows. So now I'm late getting this bike back to Cotswold Motorrad, so I better get my skates on.
Hello there, you rejoined me on the motorway. I did say earlier that I've been fortunate enough not to suffer from any numb fingers so far today. But I imagine if I spent quite a bit of time at 6,000 RPM or so, that might change. I'll be honest, it's just the bars that are kind of causing an issue. The pegs and the seat. I can't feel any appreciable vibration through them. Those mirrors are useless at higher revs for sure. Let's kind of sum up what I think so far about this bike. In a word, jaw-dropping are those 2 words. But yeah, amazing performance. Especially coming from someone who doesn't ride liter bikes very often. It's not scary to ride at all. Unless perhaps you turn off the safeties and make it scary for yourself. So it's a very, very high performance machine. But usable on the roads. I would even say fun on the road. It's actually a fun bike to ride. Even if I couldn't use all the revs. I see it as an absolute weapon that kind of goes somewhat under the radar. I say that not because of the looks, but because of the sound it makes. It's actually quite quiet. Yeah, in this short ride, I can't really make any useful comments on handling. It's bloody good, that's all I can tell you. I've provoked a bit of a weave at speed, but otherwise feels stable most of the time, like 95% of the time. Feels like it will handle anything that you throw at it. Oh, what? That took me by surprise in 6th gear. I will soon be finding out what the rest of the rev range is like, because tomorrow I'm due to take the S1000R out for a spin. Ah, fast bend. Yeah, that is really stable. Hopefully, you know, my video will do the rounds, and it probably won't be as popular as some because of the rev limit I had. But this bike is a demo bike, so if you're interested in buying one of these, then by all means get to BMW Motorrad Cheltenham, link in description. They'll set you up with a test ride. Thanks folks. That was epic.